today. One of the actors, you guys know I talk about the show Boston Legal all the time. And of course, we're all Star Trek fans. Star Trek Deep Space Nine was one of the better Star Trek shows. Now, I always mispronounce his last name, but it's René Auberjonois.
Yeah.
René Auberjonois just recently passed away. And Rob, you were much more familiar with his work. I mean, I loved him on Boston Legal, but you were really, really familiar with him and his work, particularly in Star Trek. Your thoughts on the passing at 79?
You know, even back in on the Benson, the old sitcom Benson.
No, he was so good on Benson.
He was so good on that show. As Constable Odo, the changeling who didn't know who he was when Deep Space Nine began. The Great Link. I mean, he was irascible. He was always, his character was so great. And he was kind of he was a curmudgeon, but not. And he was always, his performance, and remember, he had to wear that prosthetic over his face for 7 seasons. You know, and a lot of he was such an expressive actor, and he was obviously he's theatrically trained, and he lived a good life. He was almost, I think he was either 80 or 79.
79.
And, we have 7 seasons of one of the best Star Trek shows ever. And his Odo is one of the great Star Trek characters. And he also in the show has a great ending. He doesn't die, but the last episode, what happens to him is wonderful. And so at least we have, if you're a Star Trek fan, if you've ever watched Deep Space Nine, go back and check it out because it's a fantastic series.
It's funny too because I was just recently watching him again. I got turned on to that show, Madam Secretary.
Right.
Because Erin's husband, Tom, he appears in that show. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'll check it out. And then but René he developed a reoccurring character. Not a regular, but a reoccurring character.
Right, yeah.
And I loved him in that too. And it was and he had one of those voices. Like I remember he was in that Mel Gibson movie, The Patriot. And I remember before even seeing his face, I was looking away and he came on screen. You hear his voice. I was like, oh, there's Odo. And he had a very distinct voice. And yet another member of the Star Trek family that has passed away. René was 79 years old. I think they said he was suffering from cancer and he died at home and things like that. But anyway.
He was also in Star Trek VI. And interestingly enough, he played a character named Colonel West that was basically cut out of the theatrical version of Star Trek VI. But if you get the director's cut that was released on DVD, you can see him.
I didn't know that. I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so sad news today, and what a career. When you look through his IMDb, it's like, oh my God, this guy worked so much. He worked so much. What a life, what a career, and our thoughts and prayers, of course, out to the actual friends and family of that as well. All right, guys, do you guys have a favorite role, a favorite movie or television show that you remember him from? Jump down in the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. All right.